Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Brand Pitch. This week we're joined by Jamie Dwyer to talk about the new JDH Smoke and Mirrors range. This is Jamie's second time appearing on Talk Hockey Radio. If you go back and listen to the first episode that he was on, we actually talk about the creation of JDH, and we also talk a little bit about what they look for in sponsorship. This time we're going to talk specifically about the range that they've just launched. So Jamie, welcome back to Talk Hockey Radio.
Thanks, it's great to be back.
And of course we are here today to talk about your new range for JDH. So let's start with one of my favorite things about JDH, which is the names of your range. So we have the X93, the X79, the X60 and the X1, which are all based on not only the carbon percentage, but also iconic numbers around your playing career.
Yeah, for the people who don't know, the X93, so my 93rd game for Australia was the Olympic Games gold medal match, which Australia won and won the first and only gold medal that the Australian men's hockey team have won. So that was my 93rd game, and that's why I call it the X93. The X79 was the year I was born. I'm showing my age now, but it's got 80% carbon in it, and yeah, 79 is close to 80%. But the X60, so my 60th goal for Australia was the golden goal in the Olympic final in 2004. So the X60, the 60 represents the number of goals I scored at that Olympics to win the gold medal, and the X1, my shirt number. So I wore number 1 throughout my whole career. It was a bit strange when I first started wearing it because everyone thought I was the goalkeeper, but I was on the field and playing striker, and yeah, number 1 stuck with me, and it's good to see some more field players wearing number 1 now. But so that's the range, and that's why those numbers are there, and it's because of numbers throughout my hockey career, or the year I was born, or the shirt number that I wore. So they're not going to change for a long time, or maybe ever.
And so talk me through the decision making around that. Obviously it came very early when you were setting up the brand. Was it just an idea that you had and you chose the carbon percentages to match, or was it something that someone pitched to you after deciding what carbon percentages and stuff you were going to offer?
No, it was something that came to me after I decided to make the brand. I just thought, yeah, I wanted to have that personal feel, and these numbers are very personal for me, very personal, like the most important numbers probably in my life. My 93rd game for Australia was the most important game that I ever played for Australia. The year I was born, 1979, obviously very important. My 60th goal for Australia was the most important goal that I ever scored for the Australian team, and the number 1, the jersey on my back. So I wanted to have that personal touch into the brand, because the brand is mine, and that's a unique thing about JDH to other brands, is that I was voted best player in the world 5 times, and I started my own brand, and I make hockey sticks for hockey players of all levels, but I really have hockey at heart, and I love the sport. So yeah, I wanted to put my touch and my feel into the brand.
No, and like I say, it's one of my favorite things about the JDH range. So you also have a very specific weight and balance target that you have for all your sticks, which is between 105 and 115 grams for weight, and a balance point of around 39 centimeters from the head of the stick. Does that come directly from you, or is that a decision that was made working with other players once you got the brand up and running?
Once it started with me, I liked lighter sticks. I just felt it made hockey easier, and because the way the sticks are made these days, the sticks can be lighter because the way they make the stick it's structurally stronger and the carbon's better. So I remember saying at the start I wanted a 500 gram stick, and people were laughing at me saying, no, it's not possible, we can't do that. But eventually we got there in the end, and then sort of other athletes tried it that I had on board, and yeah, they all loved it. So roughly for a 36.5-inch stick, we go between 500 to 510 grams. Balance point ranges between 40 centimeters to probably 38 centimeters, and 37.5 we go up 5 grams, and the balance point ranges again from 40 centimeters to probably 38.5 centimeters. So every stick is individually a little bit different, but yeah, that's something that I tried to I worked on straight away when I started JDH was the weight and the balance point. When I was a player, I still play a little bit, but I was so fussy about my hockey sticks, and I'd just make sure I'd pick them up, and they'd have to have the perfect feel. And that's what I want to put into the brand. I want people to pick up a stick and feel like that it feels perfect for them. So in the future, we might add a little bit of weight, but we also might keep sticks quite light as well, just to give a bit more variety. But that's something that I brought into the range, and people seem to like it. And you see the trend in all brands now, they're getting lighter and higher balance points because that's what the athletes want. That's what the players want.
And I think that consistency is something that really adds to the JDH range. You can pick up 5 or 6 JDH sticks and you know that probably 3 will have a very similar feel. Whereas I've heard stories of other brands where their sponsored players have requested a certain feel or weight balance ratio, and they've put out kind of a message across the stores to try and find one that matches. So I think, as I say, that's something that really adds to the brand, in that players know they can get that consistency.
What we do with our sponsored athletes, especially the international sponsored athletes, is I make sure I get their weight preference and their balance point preference and their carbon percentage preference and which color they want. And then I try and get the specs made perfectly every time. The factory are really, really good at being consistent. And I've been over there a few times to make sure that the quality and the consistency is getting better all the time. So I think you're right. When you do pick up 5 or so sticks, there's 3 or 4 there that you feel, okay, these feel very similar and very consistent. And if you're ordering online, that's consistency there.
And I know you've put out videos before of you doing factory tours. How do you feel about the secrecy around hockey factories? Because I know from watching yours that when you've done your factory tour, there are other brand sticks that can be visible if you are looking for them, whereas some brands will flat out refuse to have any media put out where you can see another brand being made in the same factory.
Well, can't speak for other brands, but I'm pretty open and honest with my customers and how the carbon percentage is and where the sticks are made. And I've been to the factory a few times. I know which other brands are there, and I can't say which ones are there because they might get a little bit angry, but I know which ones, like who's made where. And when you sort of do some research and development of other brands and sort of see what they're doing well and what you're doing well, and if there's anything that you need to add to your brand that other people are doing. But there are some secrets. There is definitely makeups which are quite different, and the carbon, where it comes from, and the resin and other bits and pieces, the molds obviously. JDH has its own molds, which are completely different to other brands. So there are a few things that are different, definitely, and that's why I think it's an unwritten rule maybe between brands that you sort of don't. There's certain things you can and can't do, but I'm pretty open and honest with everyone about my sticks, and that's why I put it on YouTube how hockey sticks made. Obviously, there's a few things I want to keep private so other people don't know, other brands don't know, but that's why I put a lot of time and effort into making really good hockey sticks. And when I went over to the factory, I took a bunch of balls with me and tested the sticks on site, which I don't think anyone else has ever done before. So, they said that never happened. So I was quite surprised by that. But I mean, I can understand why other brands don't want too much information out there.
We can talk about molds a little bit as we go through the new range, which is the Smoke and Mirrors range. So you've got now 6 profiles, if I'm remembering correctly. So we've got the concave,
Yes.
the XLB, the new Pro mold, we've got the Lobo mold, we've got the mid-bow, and we've got your personal profile, which is the Lobo hook, which you've brought back. So we can start with that one. How come you've decided to bring back the Lobo hook, or possibly because it's
Just because I love
it's your preferred stick. So why did it disappear?
it. Disappeared because I was trying other molds at that time as well, and I just thought maybe we need to go thinner, and maybe we need to go to a normal shaped hook because that's what the majority of the people wanted. And I did that for a couple of years, and now last year I was like, nah, this mold is unbelievable. I love it, and I'm going to use it. And so I thought, let's make it a new mold. And yeah, so it's been very, very popular in the places where it's been released already. Here in Australia, especially, we've sold out. We had to reorder some more of that mold. And the Probo is a very similar shape to the Lobo hook, pretty much exactly the same shape down the shaft. It's just a little bit thinner and the head's a lot smaller. But that style, that shape, I think is probably the most consistent, probably the most popular shapes that we have at the moment. The Lobo has always been our highest selling stick, but now we've got the Lobo hook and the Probo. Those two are sort of selling just as well as probably the Lobo. So yeah, it's interesting to see. It was a bit of a trial this year, but because they've done so well, the Lobo hook and the Probo, we're definitely going to keep them in the range for next season, thinking ahead a year. And we've also made some slight changes to the concave, which did a lot of trial and error with a few drag flickers and a few people who use those sticks. And everyone who's made the change from last year's concave to this year's concave absolutely love it and have said this is a better stick than last year's concave. So I'm very happy about that. There's a slight difference with the concave. It's all the way to the edge. It's not as deep. So for trapping, it makes it much easier. For slapping the ball, it makes it a little bit more consistent and flatter as well. But you don't lose that power with drag flicking or with throwing overheads and aerials. So yeah, it's been also very popular. They've been probably our three most popular shapes so far early on in the season. But yeah, I'm happy with the changes I've made and sort of made the range a bit more complete and a bit more for the customer. They can be able to. They've got a couple more options there, which I think it's better for just the customer because everyone's a little bit different. Some people like straight sticks, some people a little bit of a bow, some people a bigger bow, obviously, and everyone's a little bit different. But adding the Lobo hook, which is the one that I currently use, I think it's a great addition. The Probo has been very, very popular, and the new concave has also been very popular. So the three changes I've made have all come off, and they're getting a lot of positive news and reports from all players of all levels.
And in the description for the Probo, you talk about it being different to the Lobo and it having a more consistent curve, I believe is the wording you use. Can you explain that difference a little more clearly for anyone who doesn't understand what that means?
I guess the best way to describe it is with the Lobo, it's pretty straight stick all the way down to really, if you're looking at the face of the stick, down to the D or the H, and then it starts bending a little bit from there. With the Probo and the Lobo hook, it sort of starts further up the stick, so just under the handle, probably another 5-10 centimeters, you have this nice consistent shape all the way around. So when you're dribbling the ball, for example, you see more of the ball and more of the stick than what you would if you're dribbling with the Lobo or the extra Lobo, because the extra Lobo and the Lobo, they're so straight all the way down to the J, pretty much to the D on the stick, and then they curve late. So one thing I want to add next year is like face angle. So when you're holding the grip down, how much angle's on the hook on the face, which might explain it a little bit better in the future. But I guess that's the best way to describe it. With the Lobo, it's pretty straight all the way down to the D, and then it's got a late curve. With the Probo, the curve starts up the stick a little bit more, and it's consistently all the way down to the hook.
That's interesting. So if you were to look at the two bows on paper, both have got an almost identical description in terms of the max bow point and the depth of the bow. But what you're saying is it's just the fact that the bow on the Pro version, or the Pro model, I should say, the actual bow starts much higher up, so it's a much gentler bow throughout the entirety of the curve.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And when you lay them flat down on the ground, you can put your fingers underneath further up the stick, where on the low bow you can only put your fingers like underneath it, more towards the hook of the stick.
And also in the description, again going back to one of the previous questions, you actually liken it to sticks from rival brands. Is that a conscious choice to, again, put out there, if you are using this brand, this would be the equivalent model? Or is it just that you feel that that better explains the new profile, rather than looking at just the on-paper statistics of it's got a bow starting X millimeters from the head of the stick that measures a total depth of X millimeters?
Yeah, I guess because that shape is so popular, just in general around the world, I think that like a lot of people are familiar with that sort of shape. I mean, it is slightly different. Than, they're all slightly different. Where you look at the low bow hook, or the Pro bow, they're all millimeters here and there. But you can tell a big difference when you just actually got it in your hands and you're fiddling around with the ball. So I just wanted to say, I guess, to the customers or to the hockey people out there, that shape is the most popular shape, pretty much, used by a lot of brands that use it. So I just wanted to make them that we've added that to our range. So if you wanted to come to JDH, you're more than welcome. But I guess I wanted to have that shape in because of its popularity. And even my kids, they're 11 and 10, or 12 and 10, and they picked it up and they're like, "Oh, Dad, this is an awesome shape." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's great that you like it." So they've made the change over as well to the Pro bow. So I think just that shape in general, doesn't matter which brand it has, is probably, it's a popular shape because it feels easier to play hockey with that stick.
And the other one that I'd like to call out, which for anyone who's followed the reviews and things that I've done might sound a little bit odd, is the mid bow. So in the description for the mid bow, you call out the shape as being good for playing on grass. Now, I know a lot of...
keep going.
I was about to say, I know a lot of good players who swear by the mid bow shape, but quite a few brands seem to be stepping away from it. I know that in the past it is one that you dropped from your range and then brought back. Is that just to cater for? Sorry, allow me to shut up.
Yeah. I'll let you finish.
So all I was going to say is, I'll be quiet. You can give your answer.
Oh, I just we just left it out of the European market last year or the year before. I forget which year it was, but it's just not that popular. And in Australia, it's quite popular because if you look at the statistics, there's about 100,000 people that play here. 50,000 of them are over the age of 30, so they probably, played in Australia, you play a lot on grass as well. So there's a lot of older people that come in and like the mid bow. There's also goalkeepers that really like the mid bow as well. So it's just there if you want it. A lot of the younger generation probably don't go towards the mid bow. They go towards the low bow or the Pro bow, the low bow hook, or even to an extra low bow. And it depends if you're in Germany, they love the extra low bow or the concave. So it's just there for players that like a straight stick. I mean, one of the best players ever to play for England and Great Britain, Barry Middleton, used a straight stick his whole career, and he wasn't too bad.
No, absolutely. Famous for using, I believe, a mid bow the entire time. He might have even dropped to the 17 mil mid bow when Adidas had that available. I know that recent JDH signing, Tom Sorsby, is a big fan of the mid bow.
Yep.
And it was one of the key reasons in him choosing JDH was just how much he liked this specific mid bow when he tried it.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of players that still use the mid bow. I mean, the Japanese player Kenta Tanaka, he's been using the mid bow over playing for HGC over in Holland. In Holland, Tom Sorsby, like you said. There are a few that like that shape, but it seems like the younger, really like 15, 14-year-olds like a more curvy stick. But everyone's different and everyone likes different sticks, and that's why JDH we try and cater for everyone.
And following on from that, so this is a question that we've asked to a few brands, and we've got some interesting answers. So what would you say to a player who is looking at choosing between a JDH stick and another stick from a rival brand?
Well, I'd just say to them, see what they like and what feels most comfortable with them. Try them out, see how their trapping is, how their hitting is, how they're pushing. Usually I can tell when someone's dribbling a ball and pushing, like whether it's hitting the middle of the stick or not. So when they come into the shop here, I get them to test out a few sticks, and I say, I think this one might suit you a little bit better because it feels like you're middling the stick when you're dribbling it. But yeah, I'd just try and just whatever feels comfortable for you, whether it's light, whether it's heavy, whether it's a high balance point, whether it's a hook head, whether it's a smaller pro bow head. Sort of figure out what you like and what sort of shape suits you best, and try a few others, and then pick whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay, that's really good. And the other question that we like to ask is, what do you wish you saw more on player sponsorship applications?
What, sorry?
So on your sponsorship applications from players, what would you like to see more included on the application?
I would like them to say that how much they like the brand, obviously. It always helps if you coach as well. I like that, because then you're coaching other kids or whatever, and you've got a JDH in your hand. And in the end, what I like is just people who really love the game and are passionate about the game and really like JDH because of the quality of the stick, not because they want something cheaper or a free stick. It's because they actually like the brand and they actually want to use JDH. They're not asking 5 or 6 other brands the same question, the same thing.
Okay, so if anyone goes back and listens to our first interview with you and then listens to that, we've basically told them how to get a JDH sponsorship. So
we're being a little bit I think every brand since Corona's come in is being a little bit more strategic with sponsorships, because with the current climate and everything, it's a lot made it more difficult to be able to give out more stuff, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll open up our sponsorships again soon, and then everyone can say nice things about the brand.
Okay. So a couple of other things to talk about with this new range. So you have got the Kelsey Amy designs. So it's the Big Bang, Thermal, and Vertigo are the three designs you've got. I believe they're in the Lobo and the Probo profile. Is that correct?
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that partnership? I know you've done limited designs in the past.
Yeah, well, Kelsey is an absolutely amazing designer who used to play hockey for Penn State, and I got introduced to her through a mutual friend of ours. And she's got such a creative look and vision on her design. So in the normal range, the X93, the X79s, and so on, she come up with a theme, Smoke and Mirrors, which was unbelievable theme, and she sort of went around on that theme, and we sort of worked together with it. With the Cosmos collection, the Thermal, the Vertigo, and the Big Bang, we pretty much gave her full license and said, hey, we want some crazy cool designs which you think look great. And she come up with these 3 designs, and they definitely stand out. That's for sure. They're not your normal looking hockey sticks, and that's exactly what we wanted. And she's done an excellent job, and they're selling really well at the moment. And we had to order more for the European stock because all the retailers, the trades wanted they all wanted one, so we had to get some more in quickly. But yeah, they're they're going well, and they're 80% carbon, or 75%, I think, maybe 75%. Sorry, carbon, and they're a good stick, quality stick, and yeah, they look great. So this was her designs that we gave her full license to create some colourful, new, fresh-looking sticks, which is a little bit different to the other limited editions that we've done previously.
Yeah, they for sure stand out. You wouldn't miss them in a shop. They definitely pull some attention in. And you've also launched the F-Print, which is your custom stick designer. So one question that I have is, are we going to see the smoke and mirrors style base pattern being added?
Yes.
Interest. Okay, I'm going to have a play around with that when it comes back out.
Probably, I'm not too sure exactly when, but we'll definitely do it, yeah.
Okay, so moving away from sticks, I think you might be one of the few brands that gives a full penalty corner protection range. From looking around, I've not seen other brands that offer not only masks and knee pads, but also the substantially padded gloves in pairs. Is that something that you really get behind? Is not just the attacking side of things, but also the defensive penalty corner stuff?
Yeah, we wanted to add it to the range because it's pretty important, the safety, especially on the penalty corners, and we saw there was a market there for it and a want for that sort of gear. So we added it. We added the knee guards in, and we did the fat gloves as well, which are, everyone uses the other brand, which are pretty much exactly the same. So yeah, we've added those gloves and face masks. We're continually trying to work to create a new face mask as well, and trying to make sure that the protection's there for the short corners, because it's probably the most dangerous part in our sport, which I'm a little bit scared that something might happen in the future, pretty serious. So because the balls are getting flicked so hard now, and it's pretty dangerous. People are getting more and more courageous, running straighter lines, and the postman's always inside the post these days. So I'm trying to make sure that I can provide protective gear for those people who are in the penalty corner defence, and if an accident does happen and does hit them on the face or the knees or the hands, that they're well protected. So it's more of it's again, because I love the sport and I don't want anything bad to happen. That's one part of it. The other part is obviously there was a want there for it. There's not that many brands, like you said, who do it. So I wanted to be able to provide that to the distributors, the players, and the retailers, to be able to offer that part of our range to the customers.
Excellent. That all sounds really good. So the other thing that I want to discuss is the JDH apparel. So talking just before, you mentioned that this is going to be a growing aspect of JDH going forward. I know that you've had a couple of clubs signed in the past, and the kit all looked really interesting. So can you tell us a little bit more about that going forward?
Yeah, this is going forward very fast at the moment. We've got some new factories. We've got a partnership with a company over in Holland who are quite large, and they've already signed up 4 or 5 clubs over there. Some of the clubs in Holland have over 2,500 members, and probably realistically we'll have more than 20 or 30 next season, the following season. So we've got a couple of clubs in Germany who are interested, one club that have signed up there, a few clubs here in Australia, a club in America that's interested. So we have been working really hard, and with the factories, and the quality is excellent now. And with these things, I've learnt very early on that the quality needs to be really good before you can actually push it out there. So very happy with the quality. We've changed the logo as well to make for the apparel side of it, and it's pretty interesting and it's pretty fresh and new. But once again, this is going to be uniforms and apparel for hockey players to be able to train in, whether it's wet or warm weather. And we want to get as many clubs as we can in the future, and it's there's a pretty big market for it, especially in Australia. In Europe and UK, you've got more competitors with, other brands that really push hard in that sort of area. But yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be pretty big, and something I'm excited about. And now I've got all the hockey sticks and accessories and everything right where I want it. I can really concentrate more time and effort into the apparel side and try and push that side of it as well. So it's interesting. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm very happy with the quality so far and the relationship with the factories and everything, that the logistics and everything you need to get right to have success. But yeah, we'll see. If we can have an interview in 1 more year's time, we'll be hopefully talking just as much about apparel as what we are about sticks and accessories.
I'm sure we can get that put in the book. So, Are we going to see JDH hopefully taking over the Australian kit supplier role in years to come?
Maybe in years to come. I think not in the next few years. I want to take my time with this. I want to make sure I do it properly first, and I don't want to rush into it so it's too much. So yeah, anything's possible in the future. Who knows what can happen? Like from when I started JDH to now, it's gone leaps and bounds. I'm in lots of countries around the world, and I never thought I'd have this presence around the world. I thought maybe it could be big in UK and Australia or South Africa, but not everywhere. So who knows what can happen? But I'm working pretty hard on it, and I want it to be successful, and I love it. I enjoy what I do, and in the end, I'm an old hockey player who wants to provide great hockey equipment for hockey players all around the world, and that sticks all the way through to corner protective wear, to apparel, to who knows what can happen in the future.
Interesting. So there's one final thing that I wanted to talk about, which is not directly JDH, but it is brand adjacent, and that is your coaching app program, which is ProFesh.
Yep.
Would you like to talk a little bit about that, in case anyone doesn't know what it is?
So myself and another company, we decided to teach hockey online, and we did it not budget way. Like, we did it really professionally. We did it at night time, which I think looks really cool. We put fluorescent lights around the goal, and I just gave my insights into what to do on the field and sort of what I concentrated on. Some of it's basic, some of it's not so basic, but just what I concentrated on, what I thought you need to do on the field to be a good hockey player. And then something which is completely different, we talked about the mental side of it and how I approached it, mentally, like whether it was training in the gym or my mental preparation before a game or going into tournaments, or how I had to continually try to improve all the time. So, yeah, half of hockey when you get to the elite level is half it is the mental. You got to be mentally strong, and you got to have a great attitude to be able to cope with the daily training and tournaments, etc. And then there's the physical side and what you do on the field. So yeah, we went down that route of trying to give the customer a real insight into how you mentally prepare for tournaments or trainings, etc., and what sort of approach you would take to try and become the best player that you can possibly become. So that was, it was really good. It took a few days to film, and the guys who are behind the scenes doing all the camera work and doing all the promotion for it have been excellent. And ProFesh are now also signing up a few other athletes and other sports that it's really cool to see. So I was the first one, and hockey was the first one. So I'm glad I could kickstart it, and now hopefully like a basketball legend's coming on board, and a few other people are coming on board to be able to add to the ProFesh brand. And hopefully you can sign up and not just you can see me, but you can see other athletes and how they mentally prepare, and whether it's your diet or stretching or everything. I said everything pretty much, how I prepared on and off the field. So yeah, it was good. It was really good, and I think if you're a hockey lover and if you like the mental side of it as well, it's pretty good listen, and hopefully you can learn a few things from what I've got to say. And it's, I've had a lot of experience, 365 games for Australia, played, a bit in India, Spain and Holland, of course, and I've had different coaches, and I've had good games, I've had bad games, I've experienced a lot throughout my career, and I just tried to give that to the customer.
Yeah, it is all very good from what I've seen of it. Is that something that we're going to see possibly more JDH players get involved with?
Not sure. I haven't spoke to ProFesh about that just recently. I might probably add to it a lot next year, and because the game keeps changing as well, so you need to keep up to date with the game. So there's a few things that I might need to update in a year or 6 months or so. But other JDH players, I'm not too sure. But what we are trying to do with JDH is we have been giving off, like on our Instagram and YouTube channels, like Blake Govers explaining how to do a drag flick, or Jeremy Hayward throwing aerials. We couldn't do all the other athletes because of the current climate with COVID, so it's mainly an Australian JDH players giving their tips, I guess, of on the field stuff, but also off the field things that they do as well, how they train, how they mentally prepare. So from a JDH brand point of view, we're doing stuff with JDH players. From a ProFesh brand, I think it'll just be me for the time being, and then they'll add sports as well.
Okay, so you're actually going to be going back and updating some of the stuff. Is there anything more planned? So are you going to do, for example, a live session via the ProFesh app, talking through certain points of the game, kind of you have to be there to be there kind of thing, maybe not getting the same experience if you're watching back at a later date?
Yeah, well, that's in discussions at the moment, actually. So we chat every week or 2 weeks about things we can add and things we'll need to do in the future. So to answer your question, I'm not 100% sure what or when I'll be adding or when we'll be doing live feeds, but it's definitely talked about and in discussion at the moment.
All right, that all sounds really interesting. The final question is always the same. Is there anything that you'd like to shine a light on that you don't think we've touched upon?
No, I think we've covered everything. Thank you. It was great.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Anytime.